My name is Abigail, and I'm 35. On Mother's Day, I stood in our Seattle kitchen icing a cake for our daughter Lily when Rachel, my wife of 25 years, shattered my world. Dressed in a sleek black dress, she stood at the door and said, "Stop being ridiculous. It's one night to prove I'm still desirable. This won't hurt us. It'll strengthen us." The door slammed. A dark SUV honked, and my heart sank. Have you ever felt your trust crumble in a single moment? I'm sharing my story from Seattle. Where are you watching from? Like and subscribe to hear what happened next. The clink of wine glasses echoed from the living room as I tucked Lily into bed. It was a chilly April evening, 2 weeks before that awful Mother's Day. I kissed Lily's forehead, her soft snores filling the quiet, and headed downstairs. Rachel and Hannah were sprawled on the couch, their laughter sharp and carefree. I paused at the foot of the stairs, my hand on the banister catching snippets of their conversation.
Open marriages. Freedom after 25 years. My stomach twisted, but I brushed it off. Just girl talk, right? I stepped into the room, forcing a smile. Rachel's eyes sparkled, her cheeks flushed from the Merlot. Hannah, all sharp edges and bold lipstick, grinned at me like she knew something I didn't. "Abigail, join us," Rachel said, patting the cushion beside her. I sank down the couch, creaking under me, and took the glass she offered. The wine tasted bitter, or maybe that was just me. Hannah leaned forward, her voice low and conspiratorial. "We were just saying how marriage can get stifling. Don't you think? After so long, you need a spark, something to remind you you're still alive." Her words hung in the air, heavy and pointed. I glanced at Rachel, waiting for her to laugh it off, to say it was all hypothetical. But she just sipped her wine, her gaze drifting to the fireplace, a small smile playing on her lips. "Sounds like a fancy way of saying you're bored," I said, keeping my tone light, though my chest tightened. Hannah chuckled, but Rachel's smile faded. She set her glass down, the clink loud in the sudden quiet. "It's not about being bored, Abigail. It's about feeling seen, desired. You wouldn't get it." The words stung, sharp and unexpected. I stared at her, my wife, the woman I'd built a life with, and felt like I was looking at a stranger. "What's that supposed to mean?" I asked, my voice steady despite the tremor in my hands. Rachel shrugged, avoiding my eyes. "Nothing. Forget it. It's just talk." But it wasn't just talk. I could feel it like a crack forming in the foundation of our home. Hannah jumped in, her voice smooth as silk. "Oh, come on, Abigail. Don't be so serious. We're just exploring ideas. Rachel's allowed to have fun, isn't she?" Her tone was teasing, but her eyes were cold, daring me to push back. I didn't. Not then. I mumbled something about being tired and headed to the kitchen, my heart pounding. The dishes from dinner were still in the sink, and I started scrubbing, the hot water stinging my hands. Rachel's words echoed in my head. "You wouldn't get it." What did that even mean? Was I not enough? Had I missed something? Some sign that she was slipping away? Later, after Hannah left, I found Rachel's phone on the counter, its screen glowing with a new message. I hesitated, my fingers hovering. We'd always trusted each other, never snooped. But that night, something pushed me. I tapped the screen, and there it was, a text from Hannah. "You deserve to feel alive again, Rach. Don't let her hold you back." My breath caught. Her. Me. I scrolled up, my hands shaking. More messages, weeks of them. Hannah urging Rachel to explore, to take a chance. Rachel's replies were vague at first, but then bolder, agreeing she needed something more. I set the phone down, my vision blurring. The kitchen clock ticked loud and relentless. I wanted to march upstairs, wake Rachel, demand answers. But I didn't. I just stood there, the weight of those words sinking in, wondering if I'd already lost her. The next morning, I tried to act normal. Lily was at the table coloring while Rachel sipped coffee, her hair still mussed from sleep. "Morning," I said, pouring myself a cup. My voice sounded hollow, but she didn't notice. "Morning," she mumbled, scrolling her phone. I waited for her to look up to see me, but she didn't. "Rachel," I said finally, about last night. "That open marriage stuff. Were you serious?" She sighed, setting her phone down. "God, Abigail, why are you making this a thing? It was just a conversation. Hannah's got ideas, that's all. You're overreacting." Her tone was sharp, dismissive, like I was a child throwing a tantrum. I opened my mouth to argue, but Lily looked up, her crayons pausing. "Mommy, are you fighting?" she asked, her voice small. "No, sweetie," I said quickly, forcing a smile. "We're just talking." Rachel softened, reaching for Lily's hand. "Exactly. Everything's fine." But it wasn't. I could see it in the way she avoided my gaze, the way her fingers tightened around her mug. I wanted to believe her, to trust the life we'd built, but that text, those words, they gnawed at me, whispering that something was already broken. I spent the next few days moving through our house like a ghost, watching Rachel for signs of the woman I married. She was there, but not really. She'd laugh with Lily over breakfast, braid her hair before school, but when it was just us, she'd retreat behind her phone or slip out for errands that took hours. I didn't ask where she was going. I was afraid of the answer. Instead, I buried myself in work, hoping routine would dull the ache in my chest. It didn't. At the office, I confided in Sarah, my coworker, over lukewarm coffee in the break room. The hum of the vending machine filled the silence as I told her about Rachel's wine night with Hannah, the text, the way Rachel brushed me off. Sarah leaned back in her chair, her eyes narrowing. "Sounds like my ex," she said, stirring her coffee. "Started with just talk, too. Next thing I knew, he was sneaking around with his gym buddy. Trust your gut, Abigail." Her words hit hard. I stared at the steam rising from my mug, picturing Rachel's face when she'd said, "You wouldn't get it." Sarah reached across the table, her hand brushing mine. "I'm not saying she's cheating," she added, softer now. "But people don't talk like that unless they're already halfway out the door. You need to protect yourself." "Protect myself." The phrase stuck with me as I drove home that evening, the Seattle skyline blurring through a light drizzle. I wanted to believe Rachel was just caught up in Hannah's ideas, that this was a phase. But Sarah's story, her warning, kept looping in my mind. When I pulled into our driveway, Rachel's car wasn't there. Again. Lily was at a sleepover, and the house felt too big, too empty. I wandered into our bedroom, the bed neatly made, and noticed Rachel's nightstand drawer slightly ajar. I shouldn't have looked. I knew it even as my fingers pulled the drawer open. Inside was a small velvet box, the kind you'd keep jewelry in. My heart raced as I lifted the lid. A pair of silver earrings, delicate and unfamiliar, stared back at me. They weren't mine. They weren't Lily's. A tiny card tucked beneath them read, "For my favorite spark, H. Hannah." I snapped the box shut, my hands trembling. Had Rachel bought them for her? Or worse, had Hannah given them to Rachel, a secret gift I wasn't meant to find? I sank onto the bed, the earrings still in my hand. The room smelled faintly of Rachel's new perfume, the one she'd started wearing after Hannah's visits. I hadn't thought much of it before, but now it felt like a clue, a piece of a puzzle I didn't want to solve. I tucked the box back exactly as I'd found it and went downstairs, my mind racing. I needed to talk to Rachel to lay it all out, but what if she lied again? What if she turned it around, made me feel small and paranoid? That night, Rachel came home late, her jacket damp from the rain.
I was on the couch pretending to read when she kicked off her shoes and sighed. "Long day," she said, not looking at me. "Hannah needed help with some work stuff." I nodded, my throat tight. "Work stuff? At 9 p.m. on a Thursday." "Must be important," I said, my voice flat. She froze just for a second, then shrugged. "Yeah, you know how she is. Always got some crisis." I wanted to scream, to demand why she was lying, why Hannah's name was on everything, breaking us apart. But I didn't. I just watched her head upstairs, her steps light, like she hadn't just twisted a knife in my chest. The next morning I called Sarah from my car before work. "I found earrings," I said, my voice shaking. "Hannah gave them to her." "I don't know what to do." Sarah didn't hesitate. "Confront her, Abigail. But be smart. Get proof first. People like that, they'll talk their way out of anything." Proof. The word felt cold, clinical, but it lit something in me. I started noticing things I'd ignored. Rachel's late nights, her sudden interest in new clothes, the way she'd lock her phone when I walked into the room. At work, I overheard a client mention a new hotel downtown, the kind with sleek bars and private suites. My mind flashed to Hannah's texts, Rachel's vague excuses. Was that where she was going? Was Hannah setting her up with someone, some spark, to make her feel alive? By the end of the week, I was a wreck, jumping at every text notification, every slammed car door. I took Lily to her soccer practice on Saturday, watching her run across the field, her ponytail bouncing. She was so happy, so oblivious. I wanted to keep it that way. But as I sat on the bleachers, clutching a thermos of tea, I saw Rachel's car pull into the parking lot. She wasn't alone. Hannah was in the passenger seat, laughing, her hand on Rachel's arm. They didn't see me. They didn't need to. The sight of them, so easy together, so separate from me, burned into my mind. I gripped the thermos, the metal warm against my palms, and knew I couldn't ignore this anymore. The first week of May felt like walking through fog, every moment heavy with what I couldn't unsee. Rachel's laughter with Hannah in that parking lot played on repeat in my head, their casual touch, a wound that wouldn't close. I tried to keep things normal for Lily, packing her lunches, cheering at her soccer games, but my smiles were brittle, my patience thin. Rachel was slipping further away, her evenings now a blur of girls' nights with Hannah, her phone buzzing late into the night. One morning, I was sorting laundry in the basement, the dryer's hum drowning out my thoughts, when I found a credit card statement tucked inside a jacket pocket. It wasn't our joint account. The charges stopped me cold, a downtown hotel, 2 nights in April, $400 for lingerie from a boutique I'd never heard of. My hands shook as I read the dates, realizing they matched nights Rachel claimed she was helping Hannah with work. I sank onto a pile of towels, the paper crumpling in my fist. This wasn't just talk anymore. I didn't confront her right away. I couldn't. Lily's Mother's Day picnic was that weekend, and I wanted one good day for her, one moment where our family felt whole. The park was alive with kids, running parents, chatting, the air thick with the smell of grilled hot dogs. Lily darted off to play her laughter bright while I set up our blanket. Rachel arrived late, her sunglasses hiding her eyes, her smile too wide. "Sorry," she said, dropping her bag. "Traffic." I nodded, biting back the questions clawing at me. We sat, the blanket stiff between us, and for a while, it almost felt normal. Then a guy from Lily's school, a dad named Tom, stopped by to chat. He was all charm, leaning in close, joking about the kids' soccer team. Rachel lit up, tossing her hair, her laugh louder than it needed to be. "You're too funny," she said, touching his arm. My stomach churned. I looked away, focusing on Lily swinging in the distance, but the image of Rachel's hand on his arm burned into me. "Ease up, Abigail," Rachel said later when I mentioned it in the car. Her voice was sharp, like I'd accused her of something ridiculous. "It's called being friendly. You should try it sometime." I gripped the steering wheel, my knuckles white. "Friendly doesn't mean flirting in front of our kid," I shot back.
She rolled her eyes, turning to the window. You're so dramatic. It's exhausting. Her words cut deeper than I expected, each one a reminder of how small she made me feel. I dropped it, but the silence in the car was suffocating. That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, Rachel's steady breathing beside me. I wanted to shake her, demand the truth about the hotel, the lingerie, Tom's arm. But I was terrified of what she'd say, of hearing she didn't want me anymore. The next day, I was at work, barely focused, when my sister Emily called. We hadn't spoken in months, not since our last fight about her meddling in my life. Heard from Mom you're having a rough patch, she said. Her voice clipped. Don't let Rachel walk all over you, Abigail. You're stronger than that. I bristled, hating her tone, but her words hit a nerve. I'm handling it. I lied, my throat tight. Sure you are, she said, and hung up. I stared at my phone, Emily's challenge echoing. Was I handling it, or was I just letting Rachel drift further away? By Thursday, I was unraveling. Rachel was out again, her excuse flimsier than ever, a book club with Hannah. I stayed up pacing the living room, the clock ticking past midnight. When she finally walked in, her lipstick smudged. I couldn't hold it in. Where were you really? I asked, my voice low to keep from waking Lily. Rachel froze, then laughed too sharp. What is this, an interrogation? I told you, book club. Then why's your makeup a mess? I pressed, stepping closer. Her eyes narrowed, and for a moment I thought she'd snap. Instead, she softened her voice, almost pitying. You're paranoid, Abigail. It's sad. She brushed past me, heading upstairs, leaving me standing there, my heart pounding. I wanted to follow, to scream, but my feet wouldn't move. The credit card statement, Tom's arm, her smudged lipstick, they were pieces of a truth I wasn't ready to face, but I was running out of time to pretend. The next morning, I woke to an empty bed, Rachel's side cold and untouched. Her purse was gone, her keys missing from the hook by the door. I told myself she'd just run out for coffee, but the knot in my stomach said otherwise. Lily was still asleep, her stuffed bunny tucked under her chin, so I tiptoed downstairs, clutching my phone like a lifeline. No texts, no notes, just silence. I brewed coffee, the machine's gurgle loud in the quiet house, and tried to focus on the day ahead. But my eyes kept drifting to the front door, waiting. By noon, Rachel still wasn't back. I called her. My hands sweaty, but it went straight to voicemail. I texted, keeping it casual. Hey, where are you? Lily's got art class soon. No reply. I paced the kitchen, the clock's tick mocking me. Was she with Hannah? At that hotel again? My mind spun, painting pictures I didn't want to see. I checked her social media, something I'd never done before, and found a new photo, Rachel and Hannah at a rooftop bar clinking cocktails. Her smile brighter than I'd seen in months. The caption read, "Living my best life." My chest tightened like someone had sucked the air from the room. I was still staring at the screen when the doorbell rang. My heart leapt, hoping it was Rachel, ready to explain. Instead, Hannah stood on the porch, her hair pulled back, her expression smug. "Hey, Abigail," she said, like we were old friends. "Rachel asked me to grab some stuff for her. She's swamped today." I blinked, my grip tightening on the doorframe. Swamped, where I asked, my voice sharper than I meant. Hannah shrugged, stepping closer, her perfume overwhelming. "Oh, just out living a little. She's been so stressed, poor thing. Needs a break from all this." She waved a hand at the house at me like I was the problem. I wanted to slam the door, but my feet stayed rooted. "What's that supposed to mean?" I asked, hating how small I sounded. Hannah's smile widened all teeth. "Come on, Abigail. Don't play dumb. Rachel's got needs. You can't keep her in a cage forever." Her words hit like a slap. A cage. Our home. Our family. Our life together.
I opened my mouth to argue, but she cut me off, leaning in close. She's happier now, you know, with people who get her. Maybe you should think about why she's pulling away. She brushed past me, heading upstairs before I could stop her. I followed, my pulse pounding, watching her rifle through Rachel's closet, pulling out a red dress I'd never seen. She'll need this, Hannah said, tossing it over her arm. Big night tomorrow. I stood frozen, my mind racing. Tomorrow. Mother's Day. The picnic was supposed to be our day for Lily for us. Was Rachel planning something else with Hannah, with someone else? Get out, I said, my voice low, trembling. Hannah raised an eyebrow, smirking. Relax, Abigail. I'm just helping a friend. You should try it. She sauntered out, the dress swinging in her hand, leaving me in the quiet of our bedroom, the air thick with her perfume. I sank onto the bed, my hands shaking. The dresser mirror reflected my face, pale and tired, a stranger staring back. I wanted to call Sarah to hear her tell me I wasn't crazy, but my phone felt too heavy. Instead, I went to Lily's room, curling up on her beanbag chair, her drawings taped to the walls. A stick figure family, me and Rachel holding Lily's hands, smiled down at me. I traced the crayon lines, my throat burning. How had we gotten here? How had I let Hannah's poison seep into our life? When Rachel finally came home that evening, she acted like nothing was wrong, tossing her bag on the counter and asking about dinner. I watched her move around the kitchen, humming softly, and felt a wave of anger so sharp it scared me. Hannah was here, I said, my voice flat. Rachel paused, her hand on the fridge door. Yeah, she needed something for a project. Her lie was so smooth, so practiced, I almost believed it. Almost. Why'd she take your dress? I asked, stepping closer. Rachel's eyes flickered, but she recovered fast, laughing. God, Abigail, you're obsessed. It's just a dress. She's borrowing it. Can we drop this? She turned away, busying herself with a cutting board, but I saw her hands tremble. I wanted to grab her, make her look at me, make her tell me the truth. But Lily bounded in, asking for a snack, and the moment slipped away, leaving me drowning in questions I couldn't ask. That night, I lay awake, Rachel's back to me, her breathing even. I thought about Hannah's smirk, the red dress, that rooftop photo. My heart ached, not just for me, but for Lily, for the family I'd fought so hard to build. I didn't know what Rachel was doing or who she was doing it with, but I knew one thing: Hannah was pulling the strings, and I was losing her. Tomorrow was Mother's Day, and I had a sinking feeling it would break me. Mother's Day morning started with Lily's giggles as she handed me a glitter-covered card, her tiny hands sticky with glue. I hugged her tight, the kitchen warm with the smell of pancakes, and for a moment I could pretend everything was fine. Rachel was upstairs getting ready for our picnic, or so I thought. I was frosting Lily's cake, my fingers smudged with pink icing, when I heard her heels click down the stairs. I turned, expecting her usual jeans and sweater, but she stood in the doorway, a vision in a sleek black dress, her makeup bold, her hair swept up. My heart stopped. Abigail, we need to talk, she said, her voice calm, like she was discussing the weather. I set the icing bag down, my hands trembling. Lily was in the living room, coloring, oblivious. What's this about? I asked, though the knot in my stomach already knew. Rachel stepped closer, her perfume sharp and unfamiliar. I'm going out tonight, just one night. I need to feel desirable again, to know I'm still wanted by other people. I stared at her, my mind blank, her words slicing through me. Other people? I whispered, my voice cracking. She sighed, adjusting her earrings, the silver ones from Hannah's box. Don't make this a thing. It's not about you. After 25 years, I need this. It won't hurt us. It'll make us stronger. Her eyes met mine, steady, unapologetic, like she'd rehearsed this. I opened my mouth, but no words came. The room spun, the cake blurring behind her. Rachel. It's Mother's Day, I said, finally, my voice small. We're supposed to be with Lily, as a family. She laughed short and bitter. Stop being ridiculous. There won't be a divorce. It's one night. You're blowing this out of proportion. Before I could respond, she grabbed her purse, her heels clicking toward the door. I'll be back tomorrow. We'll do the picnic then. The door opened and a deep honk from a dark SUV outside cut through the silence. She didn't look back. The door slammed and she was gone. I stood frozen, the icing bag leaking onto the counter, pink, pooling like blood. Lily's laughter from the living room felt miles away. My chest ached like something vital had been ripped out. I wanted to run after her, to beg her to stay, to scream until she saw me. But my feet wouldn't move. The SUV's engine faded, and the house was quiet, too quiet. I sank into a chair, my hands covering my face, trying to breathe. Who was in that car? Was it Hannah's doing? Had Rachel been planning this all along? I don't know how long I sat there, the clock ticking, Lily's crayons scratching in the next room. My phone buzzed, a notification from Sarah texting. You okay? Heard from Rachel. I didn't reply. I couldn't. My eyes fell on Lily's card, her wobbly handwriting spelling out best moms. A sob caught in my throat, but I swallowed it. I had to hold it together for her, but the pain was swallowing me whole, and I didn't know how to stop it. I needed air, needed to move, to do something. I told Lily I'd be right back, grabbed my keys, and drove, no destination in mind. The streets were blurry, the city a haze of lights and noise. I ended up at a bar downtown, the kind Rachel and I used to avoid, all neon signs and loud music. I didn't know why I went in, just that I couldn't go home yet. The place was packed, the air thick with smoke and laughter. I ordered a soda, my hands shaking, and scanned the room, half expecting to see Rachel. Then I heard her voice. Hannah's. Loud, brassy cutting through the noise. She was at a corner table surrounded by a group, her glass raised. To Rachel, she said her words, slurring slightly. Finally, living her truth. The group cheered, and my blood ran cold. I stepped closer, hiding behind a pillar, my heart pounding. Hannah leaned in, her voice, dropping, but still clear. Took some convincing, but she's with Mark tonight. He's perfect for her. Total upgrade. Mark. The name hit like a punch. Rachel's coworker, the one she'd called charming at a company party last year. I gripped my glass, the soda sloshing. Hannah kept talking, oblivious to me. Abigail's so clueless. Thinks she can keep Rachel on a leash. But Rachel's done playing house. The group laughed, and I felt the room shrink, the walls closing in. My wife, my life reduced to a cruel joke in a smoky bar. I wanted to storm over to knock that smirk off Hannah's face, but my legs were lead. All I could do was listen, each word a dagger, as the truth I'd feared became real. I stumbled out of the bar, the neon lights blurring into streaks as I gulped the cool night air. Hannah's words echoed, each one a hammer to my chest. Rachel with Mark, and upgrade me clueless. My hands shook as I fumbled for my keys, the parking lot spinning. I needed to know more to see the truth for myself, even if it destroyed me. I drove home, the radio off, the silence screaming. Lily was still up, watching cartoons, her eyes heavy. Where's Mommy? She asked, her voice small.
I forced a smile, tucking her in.
"She'll be back soon, sweetheart."
I lied, my throat burning. I couldn't stay in that house, not with Rachel's absence everywhere. I grabbed my coat and headed to the one place I hadn't dared before, our attic where Rachel kept her old journals. She'd always been private about them, saying they were just memories, nothing special. But tonight, I needed answers. The attic stairs creaked under my weight, the air musty and thick. I found her box under a pile of Christmas decorations, its lid taped shut. My fingers tore it open, guilt warring with desperation. Inside were notebooks, their pages yellowed, filled with Rachel's neat handwriting. I flipped through one, my heart racing, and stopped on an entry from 3 months ago. "Hannah says I'm wasting my life," it read. "She's right. I'm 38 and I've never felt free. Mark gets it. He sees me." My breath hitched. Page after page, it was the same secret meetings, Hannah's encouragement, Rachel's doubts about us. One line gutted me: "Abigail's too safe. She doesn't spark anything in me anymore." I dropped the journal, my vision swimming, the words branding themselves into my mind. I kept reading each entry, worse than the last. Rachel described dinners with Mark, stolen moments in his car, Hannah cheering her on. "It's not cheating if it's just feeling alive," she wrote. I wanted to rip the pages out to erase the proof of her betrayal, but I couldn't stop. The final entry, dated last week, was a planned Mother's Day, a night with Mark, a test to prove I'm still wanted. Hannah had arranged it, even booked the hotel. My hands clenched the notebook, my nails digging into the cover. The attic felt like a tomb, the walls pressing in. I staggered downstairs, the journal still in my hand, and collapsed on the couch. My phone buzzed, a notification from our security camera. I opened the app, my fingers numb, and saw footage from earlier. Rachel stepping into Mark's SUV, her laugh bright, her hand on his arm as he opened the door. The timestamp matched her exit, the black dress shimmering under the porch light. I played it again, then again, each loop carving deeper into me. Lily's voice broke through, soft and scared, from the stairs. "Mommy, why are you crying?" I hadn't realized I was. Tears streaked my face, hot and unstoppable. I wiped them away, pulling her into my arms. "Just tired, baby," I whispered, holding her close, her warmth the only thing keeping me grounded. She snuggled against me, her breathing slowing, but her question lingered, sharp and unanswerable. How could I tell her her mother was breaking us apart? I carried Lily to bed, tucking her in her face, peaceful in sleep. Back downstairs, I sat in the dark, the journal open on my lap, Rachel's words glaring up at me, every memory of our life. Our wedding, Lily's adoption, quiet nights on the porch, felt like a lie. Hannah had orchestrated this, but Rachel had chosen it, chosen Mark, chosen to leave me behind. My chest heaved, sobs I couldn't control, breaking free. I was drowning in her betrayal, and there was no way out, no way to unsee the truth laid bare in her own hand. The June sun hung low over Lake Washington, casting a golden shimmer across the water. I sat on a weathered bench, Lily beside me, her fishing pole dipping lazily into the shallows. Her small hands gripped the rod, her brow furrowed in concentration. I'd promised her a day like this, just us, no tension, no shadows of Rachel's choices. The air smelled of damp earth and pine, and for the first time in weeks, I felt my shoulders loosen, the knot in my chest easing just a fraction. Lily tugged at her line, her giggle breaking the quiet. "Mom think I'll catch a big one?" she asked, her eyes bright. I smiled, brushing a curl from her face. "Maybe, kiddo. You're pretty good at this." She beamed, and I let the moment sink in, her joy a small anchor in the chaos. We'd moved into a new apartment last week.
a cozy place with creaky floors and a tiny balcony. Lily's drawings covered the fridge bursts of color that made the space ours. I'd packed only what we needed, leaving behind Rachel's old records, her favorite mug, anything that carried her weight. This morning, I'd woken to the sound of Lily humming in her room, a sound so normal, it almost hurt. I'd spent the week settling us in hanging curtains, arranging bookshelves, each task, a quiet rebellion against the life I'd lost. I didn't check Rachel's social media anymore, didn't jump at every car door slam. But the silence between us still lingered, a bruise that hadn't faded. Rachel had moved to a rental across town, and our talks were clipped focused on Lily's schedule, nothing more. As Lily cast her line again, I pulled out my journal, a new one I'd bought on impulse. Its pages were still crisp, waiting for words. I'd started writing again, not about Rachel, but about me. Thoughts I'd buried for years, dreams I'd let slip away. Today, I wrote about the lake, the way the water caught the light, the way Lily's laugh felt like a promise. I wrote about the woman I was becoming, someone who didn't need Rachel's approval to feel whole. The pen moved easily, my thoughts spilling out raw but clear. A shadow fell across the bench, and I looked up to see Sarah, my coworker, waving from the path. She'd called earlier, insisting I join her barbecue tomorrow, a small gathering at her place. "You need people? Abigail?" she'd said, her voice warm but firm. I'd hesitated, still raw from the mediation from Lily's quiet questions. But sitting here watching Lily fish, I felt a flicker of readiness, a need to step back into the world. "Caught anything yet?" Sarah called, jogging over. She wore a faded denim jacket, her hair loose, her smile easy. Lily grinned, holding up her empty bucket. "Not yet, but I'm close." Sarah laughed, settling beside me. "You two look good out here," she said, her eyes soft. I nodded, my throat tight. "Trying to," I said, and meant it. Sarah didn't push, just sat with us, her presence steady, like she knew I needed it. We talked about small things, work gossip, Lily's art projects, the heron that landed near the shore, its wings sharp against the sky. Lily pointed, whispering, "Mom, it's so pretty." I watched it stand still and proud, and felt something shift inside me. That bird didn't need anyone's permission to soar. Maybe I didn't either. I closed my journal, my fingers lingering on the cover, and took a deep breath. The lake stretched before us, calm and endless. And for a moment, I believed I could find that calm too. Pain. The sun dipped lower, painting the lake in shades of orange. Lily had fallen asleep against my shoulder, her fishing pole forgotten, her small hand curled in mine. I stayed still, not wanting to break the moment, the quiet hum of the world around us. Sarah had left to join friends at the dock, her laughter fading into the chatter of other families. I was alone with my thoughts, but for once they didn't claw at me. They just were steady and clear, like the water lapping at the shore. I opened my journal again, the pages now soft from use. I wrote about the apartment, how the morning light spilled through the balcony doors, how Lily's giggles echoed in the small space. I wrote about the barbecue tomorrow, how I'd agreed to go, not out of obligation, but because I wanted to. Not for Rachel, not for anyone else, just for me. The words felt different this time, not heavy with pain, but light with possibility. A breeze stirred, carrying the scent of grilled corn from a nearby picnic. I looked at Lily, her face peaceful, and thought about the life I was building for her, for us. The mediation had left scars. Rachel's anger still lingered, but I wasn't carrying it anymore. I'd set it down somewhere between the lawyer's office and this lake. I didn't need to win, didn't need Rachel to see me. I saw myself, and that was enough. My phone buzzed softly in my pocket, a text from Emily, my sister.
Coming to town tomorrow. Can I see you and Lily? It read. I stared at the screen, my thumb hovering. We hadn't been close in years, our fights over small things piling up like bricks. But her call last month, her blunt advice to stand up, had stayed with me. I typed back, "Yeah, we'd like that," and hit send before I could overthink it. A small step, but it felt right, like mending a thread I'd thought was broken. I stood, gently shifting Lily to carry her to the car.
Her weight was warm against me, her breath soft on my neck. As I buckled her in, I noticed a small stone by the lake's edge, smooth and gray, polished by the water. I picked it up, turning it over in my hand. It was ordinary, unremarkable, but it felt solid, like something that had weathered storms and still stood. I slipped it into my pocket, a quiet reminder of today, of this moment when I felt whole. Driving home, the city lights flickered through the windows, softer now, less jagged. The apartment greeted us with its familiar creaks, Lily's drawings glowing under the kitchen light. I tucked her into bed, her stuffed bunny under her arm, and stood in the doorway watching her sleep. The world outside could wait. Tomorrow, I'd go to Sarah's barbecue, meet Emily, maybe laugh a little. Tonight, it was just me and Lily, our small corner of peace. I closed her door softly, my fingers brushing the stone in my pocket, and let out a slow breath, steady and sure. Betrayal. The 4th of July was alive with color, the sky bursting over Seattle's waterfront, as Lily and I sat on a picnic blanket, her eyes wide with each fireworks pop. The crowd around us cheered, kids waving sparklers, the air thick with the smell of charcoal and summer grass. I leaned back, my hands in the cool grass, feeling the weight of the past months settle somewhere quieter, softer. Lily snuggled against me, her small fingers tracing patterns on my arm, and I smiled, real and unforced, for the first time in too long. Our new apartment was starting to feel like home. I'd hung a wind chime on the balcony, its soft tinkle greeting me each morning as I sipped coffee. Lily had claimed a corner for her art supplies, her sketches now spilling onto the walls, a riot of color that made me laugh. We'd built a routine, simple, but hours breakfast together, walks to the park, bedtime stories with her curled against me. It wasn't perfect, but it was enough. Rachel and I had settled into a fragile truce. She'd moved out for good, her things gone from the old house, and we'd worked out a co-parenting schedule. Last week at a coffee shop handover, she'd looked at me, her eyes tired but clear. "I messed up, Abigail," she said, stirring her latte. Hannah pushed, but I chose it. "I'm sorry." I nodded, my throat tight, not ready to forgive, but not needing to fight anymore. We talked about Lily's school, her therapy, practical things. It wasn't love, but it was respect, and that was a start. I'd stopped checking Hannah's social media, stopped caring where she was. Word got around, she'd left town, her circle shrinking after her lies unraveled. I didn't gloat. I didn't need to. My focus was here now, with Lily's laughter and the life we were carving out. I'd started running in the mornings, my sneakers pounding the pavement, the rhythm steadying my thoughts. Each step felt like a claim, a way to take back my body, my time, myself. Sarah's barbecue had been a turning point. I'd gone nervous, expecting awkward small talk. Instead, I found warmth, people who didn't know my story but welcomed me anyway. I laughed over burgers, swapped stories about work. Felt the edges of my loneliness soften. Sarah pulled me aside as I left, her hand on my shoulder. "You're different now," she said, smiling. "Stronger." I didn't feel it then, but looking back, I knew she was right. I was standing taller, my voice steadier, my heart less afraid. This morning before the fireworks, I'd sat at our small kitchen table, writing in my journal. Not about pain, but about possibility. I wrote about the way Lily's eyes lit up when she talked about her new teacher, about the neighbor who'd brought us cookies, about the quiet pride I felt paying the rent with my own savings. I wrote about the woman I was becoming, someone who could face the world without shrinking. The pen moved easily, the words no longer heavy, but free, like the wind chimes' song. As the fireworks faded, Lily yawned, her head heavy on my shoulder. I pulled the blanket around us, the night air cool against my skin. The crowd was thinning, families packing up, but I stayed, letting the moment linger. I thought about the stone from the lake still in my pocket, a small weight that grounded me. I wasn't whole yet, not completely, but I was building something new, something mine. The sky was dark now, stars peeking through, and I breathed deep, letting the past settle into a quieter place. The next morning, I woke early, the apartment quiet, except for the hum of the coffee maker. Lily was still asleep, her door cracked open, a sliver of sunlight cutting across her floor. I stepped onto the balcony, the air crisp, the city waking slowly below. My hands wrapped around my mug, the warmth seeping into my palms. I thought about my father, James, who'd visited last week. He'd sat across from me at a diner, his eyes heavy with regret, telling me about his silence during my mother's struggles years ago. "I didn't fight for her," he said, his voice low. "Don't make my mistake, Abigail. Fight for you." His words stayed with me, not as a call to battle, but as a quiet truth. I'd spent so long fighting for Rachel, for our family, that I'd forgotten to fight for myself. Not with anger or revenge, but with the steady choice to rebuild, to choose me. I set my mug down, pulling the lake stone from my pocket. Its smooth surface caught the light, a reminder of resilience, of standing through storms. I wasn't the woman Rachel left behind anymore. I was someone new, someone who could walk away from pain without carrying it. Yesterday, I'd spoken at Sarah's support group, a small room filled with strangers who felt like friends. I told them about the betrayal, the mediation, the nights I thought I'd break. But I also told them about Lily's laughter, my morning runs, the way the wind chimes sang. My voice didn't shake. They listened, some nodding, some wiping tears. And when I finished, a woman named Clara squeezed my hand. "You're proof we can come back," she said. I didn't feel like proof, but her words planted something, a seed of belief. I'd also started a new ritual planting. Lily and I had bought a small rose bush from a nursery, a gift from my mother. We'd set it in a pot on the balcony, its buds tight but promising. Each morning, I watered it, Lily's small hands helping her chatter, filling the air. It wasn't just a plant. It was a promise we were making to ourselves to grow no matter the soil we were given. I looked at it now, its leaves green against the dawn, and felt a quiet pride. We were growing too. Rachel called yesterday asking to meet for Lily's parent-teacher conference. Her voice was softer, stripped of the defensiveness I'd come to expect. "I'm trying to be better," she said. I didn't respond, didn't need to. I'd forgiven her, not for her, but for me, to let go of the weight. Forgiveness wasn't a gift to her. It was freedom for me. I'd set boundaries clear and firm, and she respected them, or at least she was trying. That was enough for now. Standing on the balcony, I thought about the lesson I'd carried from all this. It wasn't about winning or being right. It was about choosing myself every day in small ways, a run, a rosebush, a moment with Lily. It was about knowing I was enough. Not because someone else saw it, but because I did. Pain had cracked me open, but it also let light in, showed me who I could be. I wasn't defined by Rachel's choices, or Hannah's cruelty, or even my own mistakes. I was defined by the steps I took after the life I built from the pieces. What moment made you realize your own strength? I'd love to hear your story in the comments. If this journey resonated with you, please like, subscribe, or share it with someone who needs it. Thank you for being here, for listening, for walking this path with me. Here's to healing, to growing, to choosing ourselves, one quiet step at a time.